The summer it all began. I don't even know where to start. The summer of 2023 was supposed to be a fresh start for me. A chance to reconnect with my roots after 5 long years away in the city. Small-town Ohio hadn't changed much since I left. Same old houses, same dusty streets, and the same suffocating sense that everyone is watching your every move. But what I didn't expect was how stepping back into this small bubble would unravel everything I thought I knew about family, trust, and myself. It all began the day I walked through the door of my aunt's house. Mrs. Harper greeted me with her usual tight-lipped smile, the kind that feels more like an inspection than a welcome. "You've grown so thin," she said, her tone hovering somewhere between concern and criticism. I forced a laugh because honestly I couldn't tell if she meant it as a compliment or a jab. That's just how things worked in this house. Everything had layers you could peel back, but never fully understand. And then there was Liam. Liam has always been different. Growing up, he was the older cousin who made me feel both safe and uneasy at the same time. He had this way of looking at you like he knew something you didn't, and maybe he did. When we were kids, we used to climb trees together and share secrets under the stars. Back then, he felt like my confidant, my protector. But now, standing in front of him on that sticky summer afternoon, I realized how much he'd changed, and how much I didn't recognize him anymore. We ended up sitting on the porch later that evening, sipping cheap beer from cans that smelled faintly of rust. The air was thick with humidity, and cicadas buzzed endlessly in the background. For a while we just talked about college, about work, about nothing really important. It felt almost normal, like slipping into an old sweater that still fit perfectly. But then out of nowhere he leaned over and hugged me. Not a casual, friendly hug either. This was intimate. Too close. Too warm. I froze. My body tensed up like a coiled spring, and I swear I heard my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. What the hell was that? I wanted to pull away, to say something sharp and cutting, but instead I stayed frozen, letting the moment stretch out longer than it should have. When he finally let go, his eyes locked onto mine, and he said something that sent chills down my spine. "We're not blood-related, Evelyn. So why does it matter? Why does it matter?" Seriously? I didn't know how to respond. I didn't even know what to think. All I knew was that something inside me shifted in that moment. A line had been crossed, one I wasn't sure I wanted to cross back over. Over the next few days, Liam kept finding excuses to hang out with me. First it seemed harmless enough. We'd take long drives through empty country roads, blasting music neither of us really liked. Once he brought me to this abandoned barn on the outskirts of town, its wooden beams rotting and creaking under our weight. He called it our secret spot. But it wasn't just the places we went to, it was the way he looked at me. The way his hand lingered too long on my arm when he passed me a drink. The way his voice softened when he asked me questions no one else ever bothered to ask. Part of me wanted to push him away, to remind myself that this was wrong on so many levels. But another part, the part that craved connection, attention, validation, couldn't resist. It was like being pulled into a whirlpool, spinning faster and faster until I couldn't breathe. By the end of the week I found myself lying awake at night, replaying every interaction, every touch, every word. Was I imagining things? Was I reading too much into his behavior? Or was he actually flirting with me? Then came the text message late one night. Just 3 words. "Can't stop thinking." My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering above the keyboard, unsure of what to type back. Before I could decide, another message popped up. "About you." Oh God. I didn't reply. I couldn't. But deep down I already knew. I was in way over my head. And that's when I realized something terrifying. Whatever this was between us, it wasn't going to end anytime soon. What started as a simple summer visit was quickly spiraling into something far darker, and I didn't know if I had the strength to stop it. Crossing the line. After that night things changed. Not all at once, but subtly, like the tide creeping up on a beach. You don't notice it until you're ankle deep in water. Liam's texts became more frequent, his words more intimate. At first they were harmless enough, little jokes, random thoughts about life, but soon they turned into something else entirely. One evening he sent me a voice note. His voice was low, almost a whisper, and he said, "I can't stop thinking about that hug." I listened to it 3 times before deleting it, my heart racing faster with each replay. What the hell was wrong with me? Why did I keep letting him do this? But then again, why did I keep responding? We started meeting secretly in the old barn, the one he'd shown me during our drive. It wasn't romantic, not really. The air smelled like damp wood and rusted metal, and the floorboards groaned under our weight. But somehow in that decrepit little space, everything felt electric. Every glance, every brush of his hand against mine, sent sparks shooting through my body. And yet there was always this nagging voice in the back of my mind, screaming at me to stop. This is wrong, it whispered. You're crossing a line you can't uncross. But every time I tried to pull away, Liam would reel me back in with a look, a touch, a carefully chosen word. Then Clara noticed. Clara had always been sharp-eyed, the kind of person who could read a room in seconds. She was Liam's older sister, but she'd always treated me like her own little project, constantly checking in, offering advice I never asked for. So when she started giving me those piercing stares during family dinners, I knew something was up. It happened during dessert one night. Mrs. Harper had baked her infamous apple pie, and we were all sitting around the table, laughing and talking like some twisted version of a Norman Rockwell painting. But Clara barely touched her food. Instead, she kept glancing between Liam and me, her lips pressed into a thin line. Finally, she excused herself and motioned for me to follow her. My stomach churned as I trailed behind her up the stairs and into her bedroom. The walls were covered in faded posters of indie bands I didn't recognize, and the faint scent of lavender lingered in the air. "What's going on with you and Liam?" she asked without preamble, folding her arms across her chest. My throat tightened. "What do you mean?" "Don't play dumb with me, Evelyn," she snapped. "I see the way you two act around each other. The whispers, the looks. It's obvious something's going on." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I wanted to deny it, to tell her she was imagining things. But instead I just stood there, frozen, unable to form a coherent sentence. "I'm warning you," she said, her voice softer now but no less intense. "Be careful. He's not who you think he is." Careful? What the hell did that even mean? Before I could ask, she walked out, leaving me alone in her room. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone and texted Liam. "Your sister knows something." His response came almost instantly. "She doesn't know anything. Don't worry about her. Don't worry about her." Easy for him to say. As I stared at his message, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being played, by both of them. The web of lies, the days blurred together after that conversation with Clara. Liam doubled down on his charm offensive, feeding me lies so sweet they almost tasted believable. He told me Clara was jealous, that she'd always resented how close we were. "She thinks I'm hers," he said one night in the barn, his voice dripping with mockery. "But I've never felt anything for her. Not like I feel for you. Not like I feel for you." Those words haunted me. They wrapped themselves around my brain like vines, choking out any rational thought. And yet deep down I knew something wasn't right. Clara wasn't the type to make baseless accusations. If she suspected something, she must have had a reason. But Liam was relentless. Every time I tried to bring up Clara's warnings, he brushed them off with a laugh or a kiss. "You trust me, don't you?" he'd ask, his eyes locking onto mine like magnets. And every time I nodded because saying no felt impossible. Then Mrs. Harper got involved. Up until that point, she'd mostly ignored me, treating me like another piece of furniture in her meticulously curated home. But one morning she cornered me in the kitchen while I was making coffee. Her face was pale, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped the edge of the counter. "You need to focus on your responsibilities," she said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "This isn't the time to be distracted by nonsense." Nonsense? Was she talking about Liam? About us? I wanted to ask, but before I could, she turned and walked away, leaving me standing there with a sinking feeling in my chest. That same afternoon, I received a text from Clara. Just 4 words. "I know everything." Stop. Everything. What did she know? How much had she figured out? Panic surged through me as I typed back. "What are you talking about?" Her reply came minutes later. "Meet me tomorrow at noon. Alone. Ket tuk chuang voi ka hook." For the first time since this whole mess began, I wondered if trusting Liam had been the biggest mistake of my life. The breaking point. Noah showed up unannounced the next morning. He'd driven all the way from Columbus, claiming he just wanted to catch up. But I could tell something was off the moment I saw him. His usual laid-back demeanor was replaced by an uneasy tension, his eyes darting around like he expected someone to jump out of the shadows. "What's going on with you?" he asked bluntly after we sat down in the living room. "Nothing," I lied, avoiding his gaze. "Bullshit," he shot back. "You look like you haven't slept in days. And you're jumpy as hell. Spill it." I hesitated. Could I trust him? Did I want to drag him into this mess? But the words spilled out anyway, tumbling over each other in their rush to escape. I told him about Liam, the texts, the meetings, the lies, about Clara's warnings and Mrs. Harper's cryptic comments. When I finished, Noah leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. "Jesus Christ, Evelyn," he muttered. "Do you realize how messed up this is? You need to get out. Now." "It's not that simple," I protested weakly. "Yes, it is," he snapped. "Cut him off. Block his number. Do whatever it takes. Because if you don't, you're going to lose yourself completely." His words echoed in my head long after he left. Maybe he was right. Maybe I needed to end this before it consumed me entirely. But then later that evening I received a photo via text. It was grainy and poorly lit, but there was no mistaking who it was. Liam and Clara sitting side by side in a dimly lit bar. Their heads were tilted toward each other, laughing like old friends, or maybe something more. My blood ran cold. Who sent this? And why? I confronted Liam immediately. "What the fuck is this?" I demanded, shoving my phone in his face. He glanced at the photo, his expression unreadable. Then he smirked. "Who do you believe, Evelyn? Me or her?" In that moment I realized I didn't know who to trust. Not him, not her, not even myself. The truth unveiled. Meeting Clara the next day felt like walking into a battlefield. She was waiting for me outside the local cafe. Her arms crossed and her jaw set in a hard line. "We need to talk," she said as soon as I approached. "About what?" I asked, trying to sound casual despite the knot in my stomach. "About Liam," she replied, her voice low and urgent. "About what he's done before, and what he's doing to you now." She led me to a quiet corner inside the cafe, where she proceeded to drop bombshell after bombshell. Apparently, Liam had been involved with another cousin years ago, a relationship that ended disastrously when the girl attempted suicide. Clara had tried to intervene, but Mrs. Harper had forced everyone to stay silent to protect the family's reputation. "And now he's doing it again with you," she finished, her eyes filled with a mix of anger and pity. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. All those lies, all those manipulations, they weren't just harmless flirtations. They were part of a pattern. A cycle of destruction that Liam seemed incapable of breaking. Worst of all, Mrs. Harper knew. She'd known all along and done nothing. "I'm sorry," Clara said softly, reaching across the table to take my hand. "I should have said something sooner. But I didn't think you'd listen." Part of me wanted to lash out, to scream and cry and throw things. But instead I just sat there numb. "I won't let him control me anymore," I finally said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. Clara nodded, her expression grim. "Good. Because if you don't stand up to him now, he'll ruin you." As I walked away from the cafe, I knew one thing for certain. This chapter of my life was ending, but whether it ended in triumph or tragedy was still up to me. The escape plan. I couldn't stay in small town any longer. Every corner of this town felt like a trap. Every familiar face a reminder of the mess I'd gotten myself into. The barn, the porch, even the damn kitchen table, it was all tainted now. Tainted by Liam's lies, by Clara's warnings, by Mrs. Harper's suffocating silence. So I made a plan. A simple one but effective. Pack my things, rent an apartment in Columbus, and disappear from this godforsaken place before anyone could stop me. Noah helped me scout listings online, his encouragement keeping me grounded when doubt crept in. "You're stronger than you think," he kept saying, though I wasn't sure I believed him. But Liam wasn't about to let me go without a fight. He showed up uninvited at my aunt's house one evening, his presence filling the room like smoke. "Where are you going?" he demanded, his voice tight with barely concealed anger. "None of your business," I shot back, refusing to meet his gaze. "Oh, it's my business all right," he snapped, stepping closer until I could feel his breath on my face. "You think you can just walk away from me? After everything we've been through. We haven't been through anything, I spat, finally looking up at him. You've been playing me like a puppet, Liam. But not anymore. For a moment he looked genuinely shocked, as if he hadn't expected me to call him out. Then his expression hardened, and he grabbed my arm, pulling me toward him. You don't get to decide when this ends, he growled. That's when I realized how dangerous he really was. The next morning, as I packed my suitcase, I found something slipped under the front door. A plain white envelope with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, scrawled with shaky handwriting. Be careful. He's not who you think. Who sent it? Clara. Someone else entirely? I didn't know, but the message sent chills down my spine. It felt like a warning, and a confirmation that I was doing the right thing. Noah called later that day, his voice urgent. Have you left yet? Not yet, I admitted. Well, hurry up, he said. Because I have a feeling he's not going to make this easy for you. He was right. Liam had already started spreading rumors around town, painting me as unstable, reckless, someone who couldn't be trusted. His words stung, but they also fueled my determination. I'm leaving, I told Noah firmly. No matter what it costs me. As I zipped up my suitcase, I wondered if I'd ever truly escape the shadow he cast, or if it would follow me wherever I went. The final confrontation. The night before I left, I decided to confront Liam one last time. Not because I owed him anything, but because I needed closure for myself. I found him exactly where I knew he'd be. The old barn. The air inside was heavy with the scent of damp wood and rust. The same oppressive atmosphere that had once made my heart race with excitement. Now it only filled me with dread. You wanted to see me? He asked, leaning casually against one of the rotting beams. His smirk was infuriating, as if he still thought he held all the power. Yes, I said, stepping closer. My hands trembled at my sides, but I clenched them into fists to steady myself. I want you to admit it. Admit that none of this was real. That you never cared about me. His smile faltered for a split second, but then he laughed, a cold, hollow sound that echoed off the walls. What do you want me to say, Evelyn? That I used you? That I manipulated you? Fine. Yes, I did. But you let me. You wanted it just as much as I did. His words hit me like a punch to the gut. Part of me wanted to deny it, to scream that he was wrong. But deep down I knew there was truth in what he said. I had let him in. I had trusted him. And now I was paying the price. But here's the thing, he continued, his voice dripping with mockery. It was never about love. It was never about you. It was always a game. And guess what? You lost. My vision blurred with tears, but I refused to let them fall. You're pathetic, I whispered, my voice shaking with fury. You think you're so clever, but you're just a coward. A manipulative, selfish coward. For the first time I saw a crack in his armor. His confident facade slipped, revealing the insecure, broken man beneath. But it didn't matter. None of it mattered anymore. Without another word, I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there in the shadows. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I realized I wasn't running anymore. I was free. Starting over. Columbus was a fresh start, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. The city buzzed with life, its streets alive with the hum of traffic and the chatter of strangers. It was overwhelming at first, but also exhilarating. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. I rented a small studio apartment on the third floor of a brick building. The view wasn't much, just a parking lot and a cluster of trees, but it was mine. My sanctuary. I started attending therapy sessions twice a week, unpacking the emotional baggage I'd carried with me from small town. Slowly, painfully, I began to heal. Then one day an email popped up in my inbox. The subject line was simple. Thank you. It was from Clara. I just wanted to say thank you for doing the right thing. She wrote. Liam isn't the same person he used to be, but maybe someday he'll learn. Until then, take care of yourself. You deserve happiness. Her words brought tears to my eyes, not because they were poetic or profound, but because they were genuine. For the first time, I allowed myself to believe that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't beyond saving. But healing isn't linear. Some nights I still woke up in a cold sweat, haunted by memories of Liam's touch, his voice, his lies. Other days I felt lighter, freer, like I was shedding layers of darkness I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. In those moments, I wrote in my journal, "I'm no one's puppet anymore." As I closed the notebook, I wondered if I'd ever truly forgive myself, or if forgiveness was even necessary. Closure. A year later, I returned to small town for Clara's wedding. It wasn't easy stepping foot back into the place that had nearly destroyed me. But Clara had insisted, and part of me wanted to prove that I was stronger than my past. The ceremony was beautiful, held outdoors beneath a canopy of golden leaves. Clara looked radiant in her gown, her smile brighter than I'd ever seen it. As I watched her exchange vows with her new husband, I felt a pang of nostalgia, but also a sense of peace. Afterward, during the reception, I spotted Liam across the room. He looked different. Older, thinner, his once boyish charm replaced by a weariness that clung to him like a second skin. Our eyes met briefly, and for a moment I considered avoiding him altogether. But something inside me, a mix of curiosity and defiance, pushed me forward. "Hi," I said simply, stopping in front of him. He stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then softly, almost hesitantly, he spoke, "I'm sorry." Those two words hung between us, heavy with unspoken meaning. Was it an apology for everything he'd done? Or just another lie wrapped in pretty packaging? I didn't ask. I didn't need to. Instead, I nodded curtly and walked away, leaving him standing alone amidst the laughter and music. As I drove back to Columbus that night, I realized something important. I wasn't afraid of him anymore. For the first time in years, I felt like I'd finally won. Not against him, but against the fear he'd planted inside me. Moving forward, life in Columbus continued to improve. I started dating again, slowly, cautiously, but with hope. His name was Daniel, and he was nothing like Liam. Kind, patient, respectful, he treated me like a partner, not a possession. One evening, as we sat together on the couch watching a movie, my phone buzzed with a text from Noah. "You deserve happiness, Evelyn. Don't forget that." His words brought a smile to my face. I hadn't forgotten, not for a second. Looking back, I realized how far I'd come. From the girl who'd let herself be manipulated to the woman who'd reclaimed her life, I was proud of the person I'd become. Sure, scars remained, both visible and invisible, but they were reminders of my strength, not my weakness. Later that night, I opened my journal and wrote, "My life has changed forever, but for the first time I can call it my own." And as I closed the book, I knew one thing for certain. No matter what the future held, I would face it on my terms, not anyone else's.